or less. Call this meeting to order of the Mayor and Commissioners. It is Monday, April 8th at 1:04 p.m. This is a special meeting where the entirety of the meeting is devoted to the matter of beach walk. We're going to start today with the possibility of entering into executive session. If we do, I have no idea what the timing is, although I don't expect it to be as long as the previous one. And again, no actions would be taken in executive session. My expectation is we would come out of the public session back into this room in front of you. And at that time, we would discuss the options of path or paths forward in the matter of beach walk. I do want to clarify real quickly first, the agenda item mentions public discussion will be taken on after items 2 and 3. Obviously, that's just a clerical error. It's referencing 4B and 4C. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to go into executive session per the rationale noted on the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? And we so moved. We're in executive session. Thank you. executive session back into public session.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded to come out of executive session back into public session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And we are back in public session. I'd like to kind of introduce our topics real quick. We'll be moving on to items 4B and 4C. For 4B, basically 3 pathways are in front of us we'll be talking about. And that one action or path forward is to do nothing, which remands it back to the Planning Commission. Another path forward is to pursue an appeal of the court's decision to disagree with our reliance on DECOA. And the third route forward or path forward is to adopt a proposed ordinance that help clarify applicability. In the matter of the proposed ordinance relating to applicability of the ordinances mentioned in the agenda, I wanted to bring them up on the screen real quick and have Max Walton, our attorney, read them for us. Let me get it's on the screen.
Mr. Chair, since I'm unfamiliar, do you generally just do a read-in, or do you do an explanation?
Just a read-in.
Okay. So to read it in, an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Chapter 236, by adding a new section 236-6.1 relating to the applicability of ordinances 1016-02 and 1116-01 to pending applications. Whereas on October 21st, 2016, the Commissioners adopted Ordinance 1016-02, adding a new section 270-46, 1.1, establishing a street access requirement. And whereas on November 18th, 2016, the Commissioners adopted Ordinance 1116-01, which amended Chapter 270, Section 270-10C1, which established a new, and established a new section, Chapter 270, Section 270-23.1, which requires that within all districts where permitted, no more than one single-family detached dwelling with its customary non-habitable accessory buildings may occupy or be constructed upon any lot. And whereas the Commissioners seek to conclusively confirm that these important health, safety, and welfare-related ordinances and code changes govern all projects and applications pending as the date of the adoption of Ordinance 1016-02 and Ordinance 1116-01, and to remove any doubt that these ordinances govern the currently pending applications submitted before ordinance adoption, be it ordained by the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach in session, met a quorum pertaining thereto at all times in the matter following, to wit, Section 1, Chapter 236 of the Municipal Code of the City of Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 2001, as amended, be the same and is hereby further amended by adding a new Section 236-6.1 to read as follows. 236-6.1, applicability of ordinances 1016-02 and 1116-01 to pending applications. The text reads, notwithstanding any other provision of the Rehoboth Beach Code, to the contrary, any application submitted for a major subdivision, minor subdivision, site plan approval, partitioning, or other division of land pending at the time of adoption, ordinances 1016-02 and 1116-01, which are not finally approved as of April 1st, 2019, shall comply with all requirements of Ordinance 1016-02 and 1116-01 prior to obtaining final approval and recordation. The next sections are boilerplate, so if that's sufficient, or generally boilerplate, and they can be put on the screen.
That'd be fine. So they could read the synopsis if you would. You want to read that?
Yes, at the request to read the synopsis. This ordinance confirms that the requirements of Ordinance 1016-02 and 1116-01 apply to all currently unapproved applications for major subdivision, minor subdivision, site plan approval, or partitioning submitted before the date of adoption. And there's a typo of adoption of ordinances 1016-02 and 1116-01.
Thank you, Max. Again, this is one of our possible routes forward. I would like to clarify the agenda item 4C says discussion and possible vote on this particular ordinance. We will be taking our normal two-step process, which we normally introduce something at a meeting, which is this meeting. And if there is a vote on it today, that would be merely to send it forward to the next voting regular commissioners meeting for a formal vote. So even if we vote on it today, it's not adopting it. It's again, a two-step process. Did you want to say anything further on it, or you're fine?
Nope, I'm fine.
All righty. So we're intending to discuss items 4B and 4C simultaneously. When we are finished with that discussion, we'll open it up to the floor. We have sign-in sheets here. If you didn't sign in, that's fine. You'll just go at the end of the discussion. And with that, I'll open it up to the commissioners for discussion.
I don't want to discuss, just clarify really quickly some framing. You know, we're convening these meetings to discuss kind of the two points that came out of the judge's decision here regarding this project. The judge basically came out with two things that said that he could not decide on whether or not the Ordinance 1116-01 applies to Beach Walk, and his reasoning said that this issue should be presented to and decided by the appropriate city officials. So that's kind of one finding that we have to address here. And the second point from the judge was that he determined that Decoya did not apply here. So I kind of wanted to just frame this discussion and what we'll be discussing and voting on, or at least voting on to move forward. And the ordinance is a result of the judge's non-decision on whether or not the Ordinance 1116-01 applies. So I just wanted to clarify that and frame it that way. Thank you.
Any discussion?
No.
Well, then we'll move to public comment. Would like to first acknowledge that the good work of Ann Womack doesn't get enough credit for taking and receiving every piece of correspondence, organizing it, and embedding it in the agenda. So all our correspondence as it's come in is compiled and has been available online, and I assure you the commissioners have received every one, and as well the public has had the opportunity to read everybody's letter. Because of that, we're not going to entertain anybody reading somebody else's letter today. What we're looking for is new comments. Again, we have read every letter that there is. There's 50 some, and they all happen to be pro-appeal and or pro-ordinance, and not one of them against, just so you know. So we're going to have a 3-minute time limit, which is our normal protocol, and we'll go in order there. Carol Tello, again, we're looking for new comments. It's probably best at the podium.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to address you. As you know, I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm dressed like this because I'm running off to a client meeting as soon as this is over. I'm here to urge you to appeal this poorly reasoned, incorrect decision. It's based on materially inaccurate facts, and I do believe that you can successfully appeal that. Now, what is the practical effect of this? I sent you a letter about my analysis of the legal comments, and I've been communicating what I think to Max, so I think I need to just focus on the practical aspects of why you should appeal. This applicant had tried to make an end run around the city through the Delaware State Plus, review. Then the licensed professional engineer made a typo, so-called typo, on the number of bedrooms proposed. It was, his counting was 194 versus the correct 205, a very material misstatement, I would say. Then I'm sorry.
Wait,
In any
wait.
event,
Please.
okay.
No.
I hope I get a little more time because I have a lot.
Rewind 15 seconds.
Okay. And so we have that, and while the engineer, who's licensed by the state, I will remind you, corrected that inaccuracy, he did not correct the calculation of EDUs on the little pumping station, and I keep forgetting the name of the condo over there on the lake. Dennis Schrader made an inaccurate statement at the Board of Adjustment meeting. Now, this is particularly crucial because this applicant, through his lawyers, keeps saying, Board of Adjustment ruled for us. Board of Adjustment ruled for the rule of law. It was interested in how many square feet were in those 7.7 acres. And Dennis Schroeder, you can see it in the recording or in the minutes, said there were just under 600,000 square feet. And of course, Chairman Evans said, well, that makes a big difference. This is important to us. Well, of course it's important to them. That means each house would be on 5,000 square feet required by the code. Again, so that's a very important thing. The condo laws that were submitted under the subsequently superseded by Decoya. Who's he kidding? And after 2009, you cannot submit bylaws under the old rule. Then there's the U-turn that they want the fire truck, the hook and ladder to make at Robinson's. Well, in 1998, when the applicant bought the shopping center, he cordoned off the Grotto Pizza that used to be there, so they couldn't access, customers could not access the Grotto Pizza except by making the U-turn. In 1998, the judge came and looked at the site and said, too much traffic, too dangerous. And then I want to bring your attention to something that has been raised over and over by this applicant, and that is this is one plat. It's a condo on one plat. That is mutually exclusive to the state definition of a condominium. Condominium means everybody owns their own piece plus the common areas. Condominium is an ownership concept. There are three buckets here, the land use, the zoning, and the ownership concepts. And they're trying to muddle it together so you'll be confused. So the moral of this story is they've been trying to confuse you and rearrange the facts all along. You don't appeal, you're going to have more of the same. You notice the Walls Apartments, and I only know what I read in the paper, but apparently the developer there says, well, we want to wait and find out how many houses we can have on the property. Why is that? You have a city code that tells him how many. But he wants to see what happens here. If you don't appeal this and get this bad case off the books, you will be dealing with repercussions of this forever, not only from the current applicant, but for unforeseen consequence that you cannot anticipate currently.
Thank you, Carol. We appreciate it. Also wanted to acknowledge that you sent a letter on March 20th. So thank you very much. James Lizahora, please. James, you sent us a letter back in March 26th, so anxious to hear what new you've got to say.
What I have to say, I guess, new would be first the point that Commissioner Schlosser made about the judge saying Kiowa doesn't apply here. I didn't read that. I mean, if you have a condominium, I think the Delaware Uniform Common Interest Ownership Act is going to apply if you have condominiums. I read the decision more as a very narrowly tailored decision, looking at the Planning Commission's requirement for a subdivision application, and the judge read this one particular provision out of Kiowa relating to who is responsible for paying the taxes, whether it's the unit owner or the developer that's selling to these unit owners, who pays the tax. And he said, I don't see where in that provision I see a requirement for this applicant to file an application for subdivision. That's all I saw him say. the Kiowa still applies. We can still say this is a subdivision. We can still make it subject to the 5,000 square foot requirement. We can still require streets. We can require sidewalks. We could ask him maybe to have a bakery or a coffee shop or a shuttle to the bandstand, something for the community, some give back. I love Rehoboth. I grew up in Millsboro. I like Rehoboth more. 4 of my 5 siblings, we own properties in or very close to Rehoboth. I've been coming here all my life. You know, I kind of liked having the A&P and the grottos and the bank and the stuff. I can have residences. I mean, I can jump in the car and drive, but I don't really want their SUVs and their groceries and their trash in front of my house because they don't have any way to drive into theirs. I brought a letter from 2015. 4 years ago, from our former chief building inspector. It was a long time ago. Terry hasn't been here for a long time. She hasn't decided anything for us in a long time. Guess what? The things she decided about Beach Walk have not yet been resolved. I have her letter here, dated July 29th, 2015. 7 items, fatal flaws, she calls them. 1, no sidewalks proposed. 2, no off-street parking proposed. 3, proposed street. Note the word street. It's significant. Look at the developer's arguments. No streets, no streets, no streets. The city never said we had streets. These are private drives. A month after he submits the application. No, the proposed streets, 20 feet wide from curb to curb. Number 4, need square footage breakdown of common areas, street, clubhouse, pool, parking, etc. Once the common area is deducted from the square footage of the lot, then the total number of residential units can be determined after you subtract the common areas. The common areas aren't part of the yard. It's not where you barbecue with your neighbors in the middle of the street when the FedEx truck is trying to do the Amazon Prime deliveries next door.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There are other items, the letters
Well,
on...
we have that letter, Russ, whether it was you or Sandy Neverett, somebody.
Yeah,
sent us a
I posted it on
compilation of all
Nextdoor. It's on Nextdoor downtown Rehoboth Beach. The other point that's new is there are new ordinances that have been passed by the city. I would be in favor of making those ordinances, be it setbacks, be it green space, be it the square footage, if they're going to apply to other new properties that are built and in the city, they should apply to this
Very
property
good.
as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
And again, that Terry's letter was sent directly to us also, so we have that. Thank you very much, Mr. Lazahora. Sandy Never, I noticed if you're to read Julie Davis's letter, we're not gonna entertain that. You want to talk on your own? Thank you. And I just want, while you're getting ready, I wanted to note that we received the letters from you on March 15th, March 22nd, and 4/2. So we have some of yours on record already.
I'm very prolific. And in fact, today, I'm going to say something different than I've said in my letter, but I think I speak on behalf of any of those people. We believe that a fair reading of Section 81-105B of DECOYA, as well as other provisions of the statute, establishes that Delaware condominium projects are legally required to comply with local land use requirements, including subdivision. Title I, Section 305 of the Code, and this is DECOYA again, states that headings of sections of the code are, I'm going to quote, for the purpose of convenient reference and orderly arrangement, and no implication, inference, or presumption of a legislative construction shall be drawn therefrom. Section 306 goes on to state that descriptive headings or catch lines immediately preceding or within the text of the individual sections of this code do not constitute part of the law. A lot of legalese there, but it's really important because the Superior Court's sole basis, the only thing they leaned their decision on, for denying the city's motion to dismiss was its construction of the, quote, separate titles and taxation heading of Section 81-105, which said it gives context to the provision. This obvious error in interpreting the Delaware condominium statute is grounds enough, in and of itself, to support an appeal of the decision. We also believe that failure by the commissioners to pursue an appeal will encourage local developers to use the condominium form of ownership to avoid the critically important land use policies that can only be achieved by compliance with applicable subdivision regulations. These subdivision goals generally include providing for the harmonious development of the entire area, providing adequate space for traffic, recreation, light, and air, coordinating roads within a subdivision and other existing planned roads, coordinating pedestrian ways within the subdivision, conserving or producing adequate water, drainage, sanitary facilities. Here, the Beach Walk project will consist of 63 high-density, 5 to 6 bedroom homes largely, located on fewer than 8 acres. Of those units, 58 single-family homes will be jammed together without adequate pedestrian ways on non-regulation lot sizes with drive aisles that cannot easily accommodate fire and other safety vehicles. They will significantly adversely impact the surrounding neighborhood and the natural environment. No one of the Beach Walk developer has refused to file a subdivision application. The project, as currently proposed, does not remotely achieve the public safety and general welfare policies that underlie the subdivision process. In summation, the public interest of common and future residents of the city, as well as of the Beach Walk development itself, demands that these critical land use issues be addressed through the subdivision process.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Larry Richardson, and on deck will be Joe. Let's see, and Larry and Joe, we received a letter from you on March 15th, I believe, as well as April Fool's Day.
No pun intended. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Larry Richardson, and I reside at 8 Silver Lane in the Silver Lake Shores neighborhood of the city. I'd like to begin by quickly thanking the commissioners and the amazing staff here at City Hall for providing video live streaming of meetings so that snowbirds like Joe and I can follow meetings remotely. We enjoy our winters in Florida, but our hearts are always here in Rehoboth Beach, so thank you for providing that capability. During a Planning Commission meeting on August 12, 2016, Chairman Mellon asked the public to provide data, not just generalizations, regarding Beach Walk concerns, and in response to his request, a number of concerned organizations and citizens developed a series of papers on the key issues pertaining to the proposed Beach Walk development. A paper co-authored by Save Our Lakes Alliance 3 and the Rehoboth Homeowners Association highlighted critical environmental and public safety concerns. Additionally, a number of individual papers detailing Beach Walk's impact on sewage usage, parking, traffic, public safety were submitted by concerned citizens, and those papers are still publicly viewable on the city's website. Our paper, The Analysis on Neighborhoods Bordering Beach Walk, showed that Beach Walk would be 2 to 3 times as dense and crowded as the nearby neighborhoods. Beach Walk's proposed 20-foot wide drives raise serious public safety concerns, as stated by the city's own fire department and police department representatives. The Planning Commission considered all these factors, which led to their ruling that the Beach Walk development is a major subdivision, and you, this body, upheld that decision. It was the right decision then, and it's the right decision now. The 2 city neighborhoods surrounding Beach Walk reflect what the comprehensive development plan set forth as a vision for neighborhoods. City neighborhoods that are orderly, walkable, bikeable, and diverse in architecture, dwelling type, spacing, and size. We believe that the Beach Walk development can meet that CDP vision too, but only if built using subdivision standards. The citizens here today are neither anti-business nor are we anti-development. We all want to see the Mart property developed, and we applaud the developer's decision to build residential housing on the site. But we are very concerned that the current Beach Walk site plan will result in excessive noise levels, traffic congestion, conflicts from parking overflow, and other concerns adversely impacting the health, safety, and general welfare of the residents, both in and surrounding the Beach Walk development. I'd like to restate that this is a public health and safety issue. So that's why I'm here today, to urge the city commissioners to continue supporting your previous ruling that Beach Walk is a subdivision and therefore must comply with subdivision standards just like any other major development in the city. And I urge the city to appeal the current Superior Court decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Philippek, you're next. And Chair's prerogative, I credited you time for the compliment.
Oh.
Thank
you very much.
My name is Joe Philippek. I reside at 8 Silver Lane. That's one of 2 city neighborhoods that directly border the proposed Beach Walk development. Although I'm not an attorney, I believe Judge Bradley's ruling is flawed since it does not clearly address what you voted on January the 26th, 2018, when you affirmed that Beach Walk is a subdivision, and that was under the city subdivision ordinance. The Delaware state law, DECOYA, was not the basis of neither your decision nor the Planning Commission's decision, as inaccurately stated by Judge Bradley in his findings. Having said that, I'm not here to argue the merits of an appeal. I'm addressing you today as a former CEO and officer of a public company whose job was actually somewhat similar to yours. As an executive, I had to make the tough decisions. I know, balancing budgets, finding revenue, resolving operating issues, and all the time satisfying my constituents. Our company was successful because decisions were always made first and foremost in the best interest of our customers. Likewise, as elected city leaders, you must make decisions in the best interest of your constituents. So relative to Beach Walk, I come here today as a citizen with 2 asks. My first ask, I ask that you approve the ordinance to amend the municipal code of the City of Rehoboth Beach to affirm the application of Ordinance 1016-02 and 1116-01 to pending applications. This will send a clear message that Beach Walk must follow the same standards as any other major development in the city. And second, I ask that you appeal Judge Bradley's flawed decision. You know, really, the appeal is a no-brainer. If you win, you could save the city thousands of dollars in future legal costs and avoid countless hours of hearings and meetings. And if you lose, you're no worse off than we are today. Beach Walk will be sent back to the Planning Committee for review, and who, based upon their legal mandate under the law and their authority, will most likely reach the same conclusion that Beach Walk must be developed following subdivision standards. So I ask you today to make the visionary decision. Let the lawyers worry about all the minute legal details. Do what's best for the citizens of Rehoboth Beach. Protect the brand image of our city as envisioned by your comprehensive development plan. Appeal the Beach Walk decision in order to resolve this matter as prudently as possible. Remember, your actions today not only send a clear message to Beach Walk, but to future city developers as the Walls Apartments. Thank you for your leadership in this issue.
Thank you, Joe. Eric Hacker, and then on deck, John Dewey.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Hacker, and I represent Ocean Bay Mart. We're here today to address primarily the proposed ordinance. I will leave it to your legal counsel to discuss with you the appeal. I would like to start by pointing out that I think I've finally found an area where Ms. Tello and I agree, which is that we are a community and a nation that is governed by the rule of law, not the rule of mobs. If I have a property and I apply to use it in a way that complies with the law at the time I make the application, then as a property owner, I have the right to have my application approved. In 2015, that is exactly what Ocean Bay Mart did. They applied for a condo that was legal. First, it was approved, and then the city changed its mind and forced them to go to the Board of Adjustment. And the Board of Adjustment agreed with Ocean Bay Mart. Then they had to go back to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission first tried to make them brief and decide whether the city was bound by its own Board of Adjustment. Hint, it was. And then the Planning Commission brought up the idea of Duke, Iowa. It came before this board, although a different composition, and then to the Superior Court, and the Superior Court confirmed what the law says and what Ocean Bay Mart has said all along, that Duke, Iowa has no bearing on whether or not this is a subdivision application. At base, where we are right now is what should happen next. And what should happen next is what should have happened in the first place. This application should proceed in its normal course under the law as it was written at the time that the application was filed. You have already changed the law prospectively, so the concerns about whether or not this will open up a floodgate of similar condo communities is simply not valid anymore. You have addressed that, and you have answered that question. But if you start applying the law prospectively, I would submit that you should not introduce the ordinance that's been proposed today. You should introduce an ordinance that repeals all hundreds of pages of your zoning code and replace it with a single sentence. If you want to do something legal with your property, please apply to the town so that we can see if your neighbors agree, because that is what you would be allowing. Neither Delaware law nor our system of laws allow a neighbor fiat or rejection of what their other neighbor does with their property. If you start making regulations like this one, which we can all agree is a law aimed at a universe of one citizen, Ocean Bay Mart, one property owner, and if you start passing laws targeting single applications saying this was legal when it was filed, we want to make it illegal so it can't proceed, then you're not operating as a nation of laws. You're operating as mob rule. It's not allowed under Delaware law. It's not allowed under our constitutional system of government. And at this point, 4 years in and hundreds of thousands of dollars later, you're dealing with issues of estoppel, of vested rights, of potential civil rights violations. That's not what our community is about. It's not what our country is about. It's not what you as city commissioners are about. So at this point, you need to not pass this. You need to not try to apply the law retroactively, and you need to allow this application to move forward as it's always been intended to do. Thank you.
Thank you. John Dewey, please. John, we have a letter from you on the record dated 4/3, April 3rd. Thank you.
Again, my name is John Dewey. I live at 105 Scarborough. My interest in this matter, other than as a citizen and having followed this for a period of time, is that the Walls' property is directly across the street. When I sit on my porch, that's what I see going on. The bright orange demolition sticker is right there. I would urge the commission to continue to take what actions are available to the commission and the city that are legal and appropriate, aggressive but legal, in order to assure that these types of high density and inappropriate usages are not permitted within the city. It is overwhelming to the structure of the town, the traffic concerns. As I listen to others who are much more versed in the law than I can't get into that level of detail other than to ask that the commission, as you seem to be doing, fully consider the impact not only on immediate neighbors, but those of us who are facing future developments that are literally in our front yards. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Glass and then Pam Cranston on deck.
Gary Glass, 105 Country Club Drive. Not to repeat what everybody else has said, as a resident of Rehoboth who talks to a lot of residents in Rehoboth, I endorse everything that they have said, that Beach Walk is not in its current form a favorable development of that site. We certainly would, as most of the residents have that I've talked to, endorse a residential development there, but not the way it's designed at this high density level. In our neighborhood, the lots are 50 by 100, that's 5,000 square feet. If you figure up the 58 homes, they're probably less than 3,500 square feet per home. It's just way too dense for 5-bedroom houses, and it's not going to be safe, and it's not going to be what Rehoboth is reflected in the CDP.
Thank you very much. And Pam Cranston? Again, I want to acknowledge your letters with Sandy Neverett on the 3 dates that I noted earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to start, too, by thanking you, Mr. Mills, for acknowledging Ann Womack's work. And I make this point because I think you understated it. I think what Ann has been doing has been heroic, given how long this has gone on and how many letters there have been. So thank you, Ann. I believe I have 3 points to make that have not yet been made. First, I'd like to borrow from Mabel Granke, who wasn't able to be here today. I think it was about 4 years ago when we first started getting into this. Mabel is the one who said, if you allow this to go forward, this will be Rehoboth's first modern-day ghetto, given the density of what this exists, or as it's being proposed. And to reinforce what a few others have said, if it is allowed to go forward as currently proposed, what is to keep Walls Apartments and other developments and configurations of property from doing the same thing closer to the town center? Second, if this is allowed to go forward, in case there's any sort of sympathy about what the developer has to do, no matter what, he has to make at least 2 changes. One, Del.C has not approved and asked the developer to change the entrance. Right now, the way it's being proposed is the light on Route 1 is to be closed off. I mean, they will be available only to the townhouses. The main entrance would be moved to Terrace Road. They have disallowed that, so it has to be redesigned anyway in order to keep that functioning light and intersection as the primary entrance and exit for this community. The other change that is going to have to be made, no matter what, even if, whether it's approved or not, is that if you recall, the developer was given a variance by the Sussex Conservation District for the sewer and water plan. And that was because shortly before the application, there had been some changes made. And they gave them a variance that was good for 1 year. That 1 year is gone, so they will have to go back and redesign the sewer and water system according to the new upgraded code. And finally, someone asked me not very long ago, why has this, in 4 years now, why has this developer not come forward with a compromise? And I don't have an answer to that because I don't know a single person anywhere in these 4 years, letters to the editor, letters to the commissioners, letters to the planning commission, conversation anecdotally around town, who hasn't said the shopping center is an eyesore. It needs to be developed. We want it to be developed. Residences would be fabulous. Right across the street is a beautiful condo community. Lots of open space, plenty of time, but why? Why not compromise? So in the end, I would just like to support all my neighbors within and outside the city of Rehoboth to do whatever you believe is legal, responsible, efficient, to nip this in the bud and work toward a beautiful, responsible, lovely residential community that all of us can be really proud to call Rehoboth home. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. That's all that's signed up on the list. Is there anyone who did not sign up that would like to speak that's new? Going once, going twice? Well, then we'll close the public comment portion of this meeting and open it up back to the commissioners for discussion. And once I see that there's enough discussion, I'll call for motions. Any discussion?
I don't have any discussion points at this juncture. I just want to thank everybody who's made time
and waited for us through the executive session. It's really good to see everyone here giving us as much information as we can possibly have.
Yeah, I would certainly echo Tony's comments. I really appreciate everyone these last weeks, and particularly as a new commissioner, reaching out, sharing a lot of good data, not just opinions, not just emotional thoughts, but real data about our natural environment, about our geography, about our city, about the way that we can habitate and continue to have a quality of life. And it's been very meaningful. It's been very helpful. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, then I would like to entertain a motion. I'd like to vote on all three of these path forwards. So I'd like to start off with a motion on doing nothing.
Or that would be a remand to the Planning Commission. That would be a remand to the Planning Commission.
And that would, doing nothing up here means it would be remanded back to the Planning Commission. So formally, I would prefer a vote on all three options.
I see what you're saying. Okay. I'll make that motion.
We have a motion on the floor to do nothing.
Second.
And a whispered second by Commissioner Sheffer to second that. And we have a motion on the floor and seconded to do nothing, which remands it back to the Planning Commission. I'm going to do this vote by roll call. Commissioner Sheffer?
No.
Commissioner Caluzzi?
No.
Commissioner Schlosser?
No.
Commissioner Sharp?
No.
Commissioner Byrne?
No.
And the chair also votes no. So I'd entertain another motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the commissioners take the action to pursue an appeal of the beach walk matter.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded, I think Dick beat you this time, Steve, to pursue an appeal of the judge's decision. Is there any discussion? I guess my overall goal is to do the best I can for the community and to ensure that projects like this get in front of or undergo a subdivision review in addition to site plan review. So you'll know how I'll be voting on this. There any other discussion? No? I'll roll call the vote. Start with Commissioner Caluzzi.
Aye.
Commissioner Schlosser.
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp.
Aye.
Commissioner Byrne.
Aye.
Commissioner Sheffer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye also. That motion carries to pursue an appeal. Like a motion for the record to entertain moving this proposed ordinance forward to a vote at our next regular voting meeting.
I just would like to make a comment that in reading the judge's decision, it was clear to me that we were.
I need a motion. Let's do a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's do a motion.
No discussion
I
yet.
move,
Okay.
I move that we, as a body, pursue this ordinance at our next commissioners meeting, April 24th.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and seconded to send this proposed ordinance before us before a vote at the next regular voting commissioners meeting. Discussion? Go ahead.
No, I just felt after reading the judge's decision that we pretty much were directed to make this decision of the ordinance for consideration, that 236-6.1 that was read into the record by our attorney. I did.
I want to concur with that, as I stated at the beginning of this discussion, that the judge actually directed, if you will, that, and again, I just have to quote this, I've decided I cannot now determine whether Ordinance 111601 applies to beach walk, reasoning that this issue should, in the first instance, be presented to and decided by the appropriate city officials. To me, That is the courts telling us that do your job and clearly define what needs to apply here. So as a general rule, I am definitely not in favor of more ordinances unless they delete other ordinances, quite frankly. But in this particular case, based on the ruling from the court that clearly directed us to take some action, I am in support of moving forward on an ordinance to clarify what our intent is.
Any further discussion? If not, I want to remind us that the vote is on sending this proposed ordinance in front of the commissioners at the next voting meeting. It's a clarifying ordinance. This vote does not codify it, but send it forward for a formal vote later. I want to call the roll call vote. Commissioner Schlosser?
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp?
Aye.
Commissioner Byrne?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheffer?
Aye.
Commissioner Caluzzi?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.